Hey, Craig, how are you doing? I've
Hey,
got
Pete, doing great.
I got welcome Craig Rickard. This is the first one I've done right. I've done like this. It takes a little getting used to, but you might not be able to see that. It's a nice little welcome sign there.
Well, thank
And
you.
what I'm going to say here is this interview is being recorded. It's not live and published at a future date. Uh, we will limit it to 30 minutes. And the last thing, if it goes longer, that's fine. You and I can cut it into multiple parts and do whatever you like there. Okay.
Great.
And now your banner is, and I got your name. If I spell your name wrong, I will absolutely fix it.
All right, thank you.
And there we are. Okay, we're together here. I'm going to go to dynamic where you and I are both on the same. Add to dynamic. There we are together. Hello, finally,
Great.
finally, Craig.
You did it.
We're here
Thank you.
together. It says we're recording 1 minute and 35 seconds into it. And I want to thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thanks for having me.
You've asked me why I'm doing it. I'm going to be asking you why you're doing what you're doing, which is a heck of a lot harder than what I'm doing. But the reason I'm doing it is I'm trying to just get back to the community. A year ago, for 20 years, I flew cancer patients. Okay, and social distancing and all that COVID stuff that stopped that. I sold my airplane about a year ago, and it was a small 6-place plane, but I would do that twice a week sometime, just back and forth to MD Anderson.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to give back some to the community. And so last year, and I think I'm going to run into exactly what you're going to be talking about. Last year, this incorporation thing, I didn't know anything about it. I found I couldn't find anything about it. I couldn't, I just couldn't get enough information. So I talked to a bunch of people. I said, well, shoot, maybe I can get some different sides of the story here from you and from a friend of mine, Dick Franks, and the rest of the people. And by the way, Dick hasn't agreed to do this, but I'm gonna work on him. Anyway, so the first question for you is why?
Yes,
give me the top 3 reasons that you're doing this, because it is a bunch of aggravation. I can assure you.
It's a lot of work. I to preface the reasons why. I'm 47 years old and I'm self-employed, and so I went to my wife. I knew about this opportunity through some friends, and I went to the wife and said, "Hey, do you think is this a new adventure you want to embark on? Because I think there's going to be a lot of work and a lot of money." And she agreed to do it. And so that was the first thing, is just another chapter in our lives. Just to your point, Pete, is to give back. So because we've been in the Woodlands. Sure, no problem. Because we've been in the Woodlands for 22 years, we've been in and around it. So we love it, and that's why we are all here. So the MUDs, my MUD gave a large, over $4 million to Prep Development for the developer on 1488, and so that was the spark that I started to question some things and dig deeper and get more data points. The clear cutting of trees on Eagle Island was something I drive past it on my way from the gym to my office, and just dirt kicking up, and realized that all these trees were going down.
Where is Eagle Island?
Eagle Island is right there across from North Shore. This is where they're putting a lot of houses, the kind of the skinny houses, I call them.
Oh yeah, okay.
So Eagle Island. So just a general kind of clear cutting, and the third reason, which to me is two in the same, which is high density is going to be high traffic. Mm-hmm. So as the trees come down and we start to lose that George Mitchell vision that we all have fallen in love with here, those are the 3 big ones that provoked me. But the more I stay in the campaign, there's certainly a lot more that is being exposed that I want residents to know about. And the whole idea is just to protect what we've already got right now for the future.
Well, I have a question. Who is developing Eagle Island?
I believe it's Howard Hughes Corporation.
You think it is? Because I don't.
There are several developers, but to my knowledge, they own all of it.
Okay. They own all of Eagle Island.
As far as I know.
Okay. Good. Do they own a lot of property here in the Woodlands?
I read that there were 72 parcels during the time of incorporation last year.
Uh-huh.
I don't know exactly where all those parcels are, but roughly that was the number that was published that I've been researching.
Okay. Okay. Well, somebody sent me a map of where they are, and it's just a little. I'll send it to you.
I'd like to see it.
Scan it and send it to you. They're just. It's not. It doesn't look like very much, but
It might be a lot less now. What I've read is that was kind of mid part of last year, so they may have sold some. They're about 98% developed on the residential side, so my assumption is that most of that is going to be commercial.
Okay, all right. So these are all good reasons, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. And you told me privately that you're not being funded by PACs and other types of things.
That's right. Well, developer funded PACs, yes.
Developer funded PACs. What does that mean?
So if there's developer funds, I don't want to have my decision making affected when it counts for the residents. I don't want to owe anybody anything.
Okay, so basically, are you taking private donations?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're taking private, not developer. And when you say developer, I'm sure you mean the Hughes Corporation, right?
Well, no, there's several developers that have given. Like, for instance, there's the Preserve the Woodlands PAC. The last figure I saw was $450,000 from Howard Hughes was donated in 2021, and there were some other folks that had some bigger ticket, but nothing that big. So that's specifically the PAC that to me is the most visible in this race.
Preserve the Woodlands.
Woodlands.
Hughes gave them in 2021 $450,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a lot of damn money.
That's a lot of dough.
So they must have wanted something out of it.
I mean, I think part of it is educating people, but it certainly makes you start to question intent. And I don't want to. I want to work with Howard Hughes, so it's not something that the idea isn't to drag them through the mud. They've done a good job, and a lot of those guys that work for Howard Hughes were Woodlands Development Company before that too. So the developer has changed hands, and I get it. They're good at development, and they're a business, and they have shareholders, and that's great. But what do we, the residents, want?
Good question. It seems like you do not like Howard Hughes, but you would like to like them. Is that a fair statement?
Oh no, I like Howard Hughes. I know a couple of the guys that were senior that predated the Howard Hughes acquisition. So it's not. And I'm a capitalist. I like to make money, and so I think it's good in general. But we have to decide as residents, what do we want the Woodlands to look like? Right. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Right. I totally agree. And Hughes Corporation, I think the Woodlands, and I know. By the way, you mentioned something to me about their stock. Let me kick this up to you real quick. I hope you can see this.
Okay.
If you can't, I apologize. Can you see that chart? You see me, dadgummit. Okay. Well, anyway, it's a chart of their stock over the past 2 years, and basically their stock tracks the Dow, so it's nothing more or less than the Dow. So it's kind of tracking the Dow.
Yeah.
So, anyways, now you and I are back together again, and I thought you could see that. I should have sent it to you.
I haven't done a deep dive into researching the company as an investment, but I've seen investor slides, some of which are a little alarming about monopoly-like control of the cities they operate in. So they're smart folks, and they've got great marketing people.
That's their job,
Yeah, absolutely. I applaud their effort, but that's why I don't want my decision making on the board to be affected by the past donations from them or any other developers.
I understand what you're saying there. Let's talk next on my list of Howard Hughes, and you already talked about it, $4.3 million. Gosh, that doesn't seem legal to me, because I would be sorely mad if my mud was giving money, or maybe not giving is the right, maybe investing, or maybe, I don't know, loaning or something.
Yeah, I think investing is a good. It's as far as I know, it's all legal. So I don't think that there's nothing. I question if $4.3 million of Mud 47 was invested wisely.
Okay.
It could be a good investment. I don't know enough
May have
about
been.
land development, but I do know that payout is in 50 years. And I assume I'm going to be dead at that point. And
Well, I guarantee you I'll be dead at that point.
they did borrow from what I know from one of the board directors, they did borrow the money at a low rate. And in fact, they borrowed the money. So they borrowed $6.3 million of it 2 years prior to earmarking the $4.3 million for this development on 1488. So the residents actually were paying interest on $6.3 million because they could borrow against, I think it was 200 million per mud or something. I don't know, go deep enough with the muds, but they had the ability to borrow more. It was a good interest rate. They borrowed, I guess, just in case, and they sat on it for 2 years. And then 4.3 million was needed for this development. And so I get it. The rising tide argument that this land will go up on 1488 and the value will go up and that we will be paid back. And I don't know exactly the repayment schedule, but to me, roughly that's when they borrow that $6.3 million. If you figure Mud 47 has about 7,500 or so residents, that's $840 a resident.
Huh.
And if you went up to 7,500 people and said, hey, we need $840 to build a shopping center in 1488, I don't think the residents would want that.
You're probably right. I just don't know enough about it. You mentioned muds.
Yeah,
that's a very complicated thing. It's
amen.
I met a gentleman. His name is Mike Page. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't know that name.
He was the guy that put all this together for Mitchell.
Oh, okay.
And he is one of the people that I want to interview to say, all right, now what is this exactly? How did you do it?
Yeah.
Because from what I understand, it's extremely complicated and it's quite unique for our area. Yeah.
I went to the Mud 386 meeting yesterday afternoon at the Lone Star campus down in Creekside Park. They were issuing bonds. It was a couple-hour meeting, and it was a lot to digest. There's an attorney there, and there's the finance lady who was talking about how they issued these bonds. And so and by the way, in 386, there's a $9 million bill for Rob Fleming Park that's just coming due this year. Well, maybe it's the end of that last year, but this year, that those residents get to go either pay or finance or both. $9 million for Rob Fleming Park.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't want to go too deep into that, but the point is that that's just 2 of the 11 muds in the Woodlands.
Now, Rob Fleming Park, is that in the Woodlands per se?
Yeah, that's right. It's in Creekside Park, and it's a fantastic. Yeah, it's a fantastic park. But the point is that if you were a new resident, like let's say you came in the last 5 years, which a lot of them have.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you appreciate or even know that that's going to be hitting your tax dollars at some point. There's still a negotiation, so I don't know if it's going to be the full $9 million. And the $9 million is a combination of the initial investment to put the park together and then interest that's been accumulating. So I don't want to overinflate this. But the point is that there's not a lot of transparency, and that's one of the things I'm running on.
Not a lot of transparency, and that's been under the Bunch administration, right? So,
no, I'm not necessarily talking about the township. I'm talking about the county.
The county.
I'm talking about
that's Harris County now, isn't it?
Well, that's Harris. That's right. But I'm also right. So we've got to look at Montgomery and Harris. And I can't bite off more than I can chew, because the township, for all your viewers that don't know, there's 4 things. There's the waste management contract, your trash service, your fire department, parks, pools, and pathways. So all those rangers that are running around in the trolley system up around the library, that's all township. Park and ride, all the commuter buses, and covenant administration to make sure your neighbor doesn't paint his house pink, or the trash cans are out forever. An RV is so there's residential and commercial covenant administration. So that's under
the township control.
The township.
not the sheriff's department, and
That's
not
right.
roads and all that
That's
kind
right.
of stuff. Okay.
That's right. The township is resident focused. So they joke. First of all, it's a glorified HOA.
Okay.
And by the way, this is the other thing is for all of the viewers, this is a volunteer position, by the way. So I've been pouring my dollars.
You paid the big bucks for this, man.
Yeah, no, you don't. There's no big bucks. So
That's-
it's just try to be to what you've been doing, Pete. Is just try to be philanthropic, but really to try to protect, because on one hand, I've got investments in the Woodlands, rental homes, and my primary residence, and I care about other people, and they need to know. So getting back to the transparency is, I believe big government is not an efficient way. They don't make efficient use of our dollars.
Well,
In
I kind of agree with you there. I'm not going to try to agree or disagree with anything here, but I got to agree with you. Look at the federal government.
So what the township board can do is influence.
Right.
So when the sheriff's contract is up, or like roads, like for instance, TxDOT and county commissioners putting up intersections, or if we have residents that are have a dangerous intersection. So that's happened in Creekside down by the HEB, where we've had some fatalities. So that's what vocal township board members that are proactive can do to protect the residents. For instance, Dr. Shelley Sekula-Gibbs this week was able to force TxDOT to back off of their 242 widening.
Not according to the Impact magazine, but okay.
It was in the Courier. I believe that was on Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah. So
how did she do that? How did she do that?
She's tough.
Oh,
I mean, she does what she does, and she pulls people to the table, and she brings the transparency and the accountability, and she's vocal.
Yeah.
So that's a function that the township, that good board members can do for the residents.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's good to know, because I was just reading an article in the Impact about it was upsetting the residents that around the 242 widening that.
Yeah, I think that Impact edition came out last week.
It did.
And the Courier article, I believe, is Tuesday of this week, so 3 days ago.
Okay. Oh, good. That's easily checked. Not that I'm going to check it. I'm just here asking questions is all I'm doing. But that's good. And I actually met Dr. Shelley Gibbs. Is that it?
Yeah. Sekula-Gibbs.
At the Mercedes place. We were waiting on our car together, so I chatted with her there up at Mercedes place.
Just a terrific lady. She's a force. She's fantastic.